I'm sorry, everybody. I hit the wrong button. And I don't want to go back and redo this whole thing, so this is coming to you as part 2. Storm and Drang. Storm and Drang is all about getting in touch with the downside, the dark side of the Force. It's eerie. It's fairy tales. It's the beginnings of what will next week be called romanticism. It comes as a reaction against the strict rules of neoclassicism. Neoclassicism did not really, even in the comedies, account for sensation, for emotion. How do you do that? There's a lot of emotion in Shakespeare, but there's not much in Addison Steele. Not that you know who Addison Steele is. Don't worry about it. Sturm und Drang, literally in German, means storm and stress. Stages were lit by candles. Well, they all were anyway, but this time there were shadows. It wasn't important to see the faces as to see the shadows on the faces. I see here that you can see reflections in my glasses. I wish I didn't have them on. Maybe I will take them off so that you don't see those, right? All my nooks and crannies are all lighted now, right? In some way. Violence now is on stage. There are sword fights. People die on stage. Well, let's say characters die on stage. That's not the Greek way. It's a little bit more the Roman way in terms of the death. Acting was over the top, extremely over the top. You know, you have King Lear in King Lear on a moor, a field in the middle of a rainstorm, in the middle of a thunderstorm. I think I spoke about this back then, but when we did English Renaissance, I'm not sure. But anyway, he's got a nice little speech about blow winds, crack your cheeks, right? And he's standing there going, blow winds and crack your cheeks, you hurricanes and cataracts, blow. You know, and then the rest of the speech is all about I'm in the elements and all of that. Here, I hope I don't lose the voice. It would be more like, blow winds and crack your cheeks, you hurricanes and cataracts, blow. I wasn't ready for that. Sorry. Big gestures and faces. It's horror. It melds into horror. It's the part of our lives that are in the shadows, in the ghosty under the bed. Now, we use it today to face our fears by watching a good horror movie. I just watched the end of Psycho before. You never saw Psycho by the director Alfred Hitchcock. You should. Try to find it. I found it on TCM. It was on. They were doing a bunch of his movies. Not just slasher movies, but also they're more suspenseful as well. Yeah. Sword and Sorcerer. You know. Harry Potter. The downside. The parts of life that we don't recognize or try not to recognize. The supernatural. The world beneath the reality. Now, whether you believe in all of this or not is irrelevant. This is what Storm and Drang is trying to address. Okay, and getting you to get into this consciousness. So, Halloween. Halloween is coming up on Saturday, and we should talk a little bit about Halloween. Halloween is hooked into old traditions of Druidism and what people would call paganism. In the Christian calendar, I think I mentioned this also when we were talking about the Middle Ages, but in the Christian calendar, there is a day, November 1st, is All Saints' Day. This is the day when everybody goes to church and they all venerate all the saints of Roman Catholicism saints. Well, something else that's saintly is hallowed. For those of you who are Christian, there's a prayer that begins, and you might have heard this even if you're not Christian. Our Lord, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed is holy. Hallowed, holy be thy name. Okay? So, the night before All Saints' Day, which is also the Feast of All Hallows, all holy people, is the eve of All Hallows, or All Hallows Eve, like New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve. All Hallows Eve becomes Hallows Eve, becomes Halloween. Simple. It's a day that everybody dresses as the ghouls and the goblins and looks at the dark side, so that the next side, they, because of the saints, will come and clear it all away. It was a way for people to get in touch with their fears by manifesting their fears. Now, it's highly theatrical when you come down and think about it. People dress up. Now, we think of it as a children's holiday, running around as little, princesses or the latest action hero or whoever, running around trick-or-treating. But no, it started this way. It was a religious sort of thing. Again, we're coming back to a theatrical performance of personalities, traits, fears, whatever, being performed, ritualized, ritual in performance. So there's nothing wrong with a good horror movie. First time I saw Halloween itself, the film Halloween, the original Halloween, not Halloween 9 or whatever. I remember and I was like in my 30s. I actually screamed in the movie theater. I was so surprised. So yeah, that person that pounces at you in the nighttime. So Storm and Drang is that, and it does lead us into the next thing. You should read about more of it. I gave you a whole list of things that Storm and Drang embodies. Let me see something. I might as well say it to you, right? It only lasted about 20 years, from 1767 to 1787, but again, we still do it. So has it stopped? People turned the book Dracula into plays. Frankenstein has been a play. I was in a production of a play called Frankenstein once, off Broadway, 100 years ago, and it was I played Dr. Frankenstein's old professor. Well, Victor, you can't do that. You can't be fooling around with dead bodies, and all that. So, we take these tales, the Brothers Grimm, right? Old Germanic fairy tales, vampires, werewolves. Again, we think of them as childish things for children, but do you know that Little Red Riding Hood is a werewolf tale? She sees the wolf in the, what a big nose you have, the better to smell you with, my dear, and all of that, right? But it seems funny to us, but it has its roots in the ideas of people walking through forests in the middle of the night and imagining noises in the distance, when it's just birds or trees falling or rustling or whatever. You walk through a forest at night and you get scared. You don't even need a forest. Walk down a street in your neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning. Although don't, I'm not telling you to do that. Not these days, please don't. But you feel alone. I was in Belfast once, and Belfast was a town that kind of closed up real early. I came out of a concert and I found myself walking on a street, and I had a bit of a walk to get back to my hotel, and I found myself walking down the street of a city I didn't know, really. Almost the only person on the street. I ended up walking in the middle of the street because I did not want to stay near the side, near the buildings. You know, the dark doorways, etc. Had a little fear there. So, yeah, they use they based their plays pretty much in Shakespeare and Elizabethan and Middle Ages type of structures, as opposed to the Greek and the Roman models of classicism. They were episodic structures, many scenes. So it was getting away from that unities. There were no unities in Sturm und Drang. No. Violence is depicted on stage. It's the Gothic, the sublime, the dark side, the underworld, the other world, the netherworld. It's lighting, even with flame, had an eerie, shadowy quality to it. And the acting style was loud and declamatory and was made to frighten people in the theater. That's why the storm and the stress, the stress of being fearful in the theater, you know. So I think I have something else I want to show you. Just 1 second again. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? I'm still here. I think it's here. I think I have a picture I want to show you. Oh, yes. Okay. This is... I'm going to have to turn this light on now. Better. I think I'll turn the side lights. No, anyway. This is a picture